After that short break, we're going to be picking up where we left off at. And so we were at um, the next concept in physical security. So we understood clearly what is physical security, and we understand that physical security having to do with safeguarding our assets, and we learned that it's safeguarding our personnel from damage and from theft, right? And we look at two of the components in physical security. And we said two of those components in physical security are, we look at bollards and we look at fencing, and we looked at scenario of how fencing can help to keep out intruders, right, from coming in. And our bollard are there as they all stand as a perimeter to restrict accident, to restrict people from coming in, to protect personal assets, especially data center. And we looked at different scenarios in that. And the next one that we're going to look at, the next concept in physical security, is going to be attacking with brute force. Attacking with brute force. So we said physical force is where the intruders may use tools like hammer or bolt or cutter to break through barriers. So these are brute force. They are using whatever tools they have to break into the facility, to break into the building, to break into the storage. So they are using whatever tools they have. That's basically what brute force attack is about, using different stuff, different means, different tools and means to get in. And sometimes intruders will do that. If the hammer doesn't work, they probably use another piece of device. And it's the same thing even when you go over to the other aspect where people use brute force and password and all of that. You will see the same terminology, right? And you have ramming, where vehicles can be used to ram through a gate, a wall, or a fence, creating opening for entry. That's another brute force. They ram into the building, or they run their vehicle into the building. That's a brute force they are trying to use to get in to wherever they want to go. And sometimes we see that maybe jokingly on the television, maybe for real. We may see people ramming into a building because they want to get an entrance, and so they try these kind of brute forces. Okay. And then we have explosive. It's an extreme case. Explosive may be used to breach barriers and posing significant threat. Sometimes people use explosive device, or they put something on the near the facility, to explode, just to frighten the people a little, so they can give in to their tactics, right? So that's brute force. Brute force people's always using whatever tools, whatever options that they have to get into a facility, because the aim is they want to get in. Intruders want to get in. They want the assets. They want to steal. So they are trying everything. Okay. So let's look at some attacking with brute force in the context of physical security. So attacking with a brute force mainly refers to the use of raw power or force to gain unauthorized access to secure area of a facility. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit stuffy. We're not yet to the scenario. We're just looking still into brute force. So attacking with brute force refers to the use of raw power or force to gain unauthorized access to secure area or facility. Why would somebody want to gain unauthorized access and using brute force? Because brute force takes time. It takes a lot of time to do brute force because sometimes the method that you're using doesn't work. And so you have to try another means to do the brute force. So it is using raw power or force to gain unauthorized access to a secure area or facility. Sometimes you may have a security, and you may have a gate, or they may vandalize the gate, or they may threaten the security or start a fight with the security using manpower to get access into the facility. This method typically involves physical breaking into a building, a room, or other secure location, bypassing security measures such as locks and doors and windows. So they usually they usually physically break in, remember that. As it relates to physical security, in the brute force aspect of it, they're physically breaking into the building, or they're physically breaking into the room. So when somebody break into your house, come through the windows and try other areas in your property, that is brute force they are using. They're trying different means. The windows didn't work, so they try the door didn't work, so they try the basement window, and trying to get in. That's brute force, trying to bypass security. Brute force attacks are often loud, highly destructive, and they require significant physical effort. So they are usually loud many times, because if you have to break the window, that's going to be loud. If you have to bang down the door to get in, those are loud, right? And it takes a significant physical effort, but they can be effective when they are more subtle, or if you use more technical means of if a more subtle or technical means of intrusion fail, right? So you have to understand that in physical security planning, such threats are mitigated by using reinforcing doors, advanced locking mechanism, security camera, and other countermeasures to make brute force attack more difficult or less effective. So when we talk about making it more difficult and doing reinforcing, so sometimes you have building, you not only have the door, but you put another grill on the door, you put remote lock on the door, you put security lock on the door. That means when the intruders are trying to open it, they have a long way to do it, because you not only have double locks, but you also have grills over the windows, and you have grills on the doors. And sometimes we use electronic means of locking the doors. So we have to plan and plan smartly when we have data center, or we have important assets that we are that is in our possession, right? And we're trying to safeguard all of these from intruders using brute force to get in. So let's listen to this one. A criminal enters a residential neighborhood looking for a target. After casting a few homes, they select one with After seizing a few homes, they select one with no visible security. So I would rather say, after they have after they have looked around in a few homes, they select one with no visible security system. And what appears to be an old flimsy front door lock, the criminal approached the house at night and uses a crowbar to force open the door, bypassing the lock. Once inside, they ransack the home for valuables, include cash, jewelry, and electronics, right? The homeowner is away on vacations, so there is no one present to alert authorities. The forceful entrance leaves significant damage, but the criminal escaped undetected because they didn't they bypassed the security. So what they did, they wait and they went around and they scanned the area, because usually when an intruder is trying to get into anywhere, guys, an intruder is going to do drive by. They're going to have their people looking at the building. They're going to try to come in the daytime, and they're going to scout out the area. They're going to look what kind of door you have, what kind of security camera is there. So usually these kind of intruders, they planned ahead of time how they're going to carry out their activities, right? They just don't show up because you have to do your reconnaissance. You have to go out and you have to gather information. You have to gather your tools. You have to see what will work for this house. So with this case of home invasion, using tools, the person used a crowbar, a crowbar to force open the door because the door looks flimsy, right? So you could actually put it in between the door and the lock and force it open. And so this is what this intruder did. Use a crowbar. You got a crowbar. I don't know why I keep saying crowbar. A crowbar to force open the door, right? So let's look at this warehouse scenario. A group of thieves targets a warehouse that stores expensive electronics. Knowing that the warehouse has an electronic gate and high fencing but not much inside security, the criminal uses a tool, the criminal used a stolen truck to ram through the warehouse gate. The vehicle's powerful engine and momentum enable them to break through the security fence. Once inside, they quickly load the truck with high-value electronic. The force of the vehicle ramming the gate triggers the alarm, but by the time security personnel respond, the criminal are already long gone. So right, so this is a real situation, right? A group of thieves targets a warehouse that stores expensive electronics. It has values that they need. Knowing that the warehouse has an electronic gate, a high fence, but not much inside security, the criminal uses a stolen truck to ram through the warehouse gate. The vehicle's powerful engine and momentum enable them to break through the security fence. Once inside, they quickly loaded the truck with high-value electronics. The force of the vehicle ramming the gate triggers the alarm, but by the time security personnel respond, the criminals already long gone. Right? So this is a situation. So it means that this criminal came to the facility to know there was no security on the inside. They knew security was on the outside, cameras and all, and fence. And so they probably had came and they had scouted out the building, and they realized there was no form of security on the inside, with a physical security, or so they break in using this kind of brute force, running the car into the building. But by the time personnel arrive, by the time police may have arrived, these thieves were already gone, right? So one of the thing is, if you're having high valuable things inside a building, you have to put some form of security around, as you might run the risk, because criminals they're not afraid. They plan, they come, they look what you have. And it's the same thing with a thieves coming to your house. They come and they look at your security system, they look at your door, they study you. They came and they study what you have and how we can get in. So let's look up another scenario. Look at another scenario. A group of criminals plans a bank robbery. They arrive in the early hours of the morning when the bank is closed and there is no security personnel present. Using a battering ram, they break down the front door to the bank by passing lock entrance. Once inside, they headed directly for the vault, which has high security locks and an alarm system. They use brute force tools such as crowd bars and sledgehammer to gain access to the vault and steal cash and valuable. The entire operation is over in less than 30 minutes, and the robbers leave before any law enforcement arrive. So they knew it could be sometimes insiders give information that the vault has security, and sometimes there are people that are on the inside who are threats to the organization that are giving information as to what's how the security system is set up, where the vaults are, how how secure these vaults are. And so these bank robbers, these criminals came at night. They arrived in the early morning before daybreak, before everything starts, because possibly they came the day before and they scout out the bank, they look and they see how they can get in. Where sometimes people come into a building, can I use your bathroom? Can I use this? What is this room for? What is that for? They are scouting out the place because they want to know when they come back to do their robbery, what entrance, what way they can get in. And so sometimes these criminals, they are very strategic, they are very well planned, and they come around and they try to find out information, right? So let's look at some brute force attack multiple choice. Which of the following is a common tool used in brute force physical security attack? Computer virus, sledgehammer, key loggers, encryption software. And we say we'll use a sledgehammer. Why a sledgehammer? Because it is used to beat down the lock. It's used to beat on the door or any area that they can to get it to force open. All right, so that's why we'll say that would be a sledgehammer. What is the primary goal of a brute force attack in the context of physical security? What is the primary goal of a brute force attack in the context of physical security? To bypass digital encryption, to break through physical barriers and gain unauthorized access, to hack into the computer system remotely, to cause denial of service security camera, and the answer will be to break through physical barriers and gain unauthorized access. So wherever you see this word brute force and physical security, it has to do with breaking down barriers to get into a particular place. Which of the following would not typically be considered a brute force attack in a physical security? Which of the following would not typically be considered a brute force attack in a physical security? Using a crowd bar to break into a locked building, ramming vehicle through security gate, breaking into the system by cracking password, smashing a window to access a room. And we will go for C. Breaking into the system by cracking password, that's not a part of brute force attack, physical brute force attack. What security measure can be used to reduce the effectiveness of brute force attack on a door? What security measure can be used to reduce the effectiveness of a brute force attack on a door? And that is install biometric access control, using inexpensive, easily broken lock, placing a decorative barrier outside the building, disable alarm system. And the one of them is the answer would be to installing biometric access control. Which of the following is an example of a brute force attack on a data center? Which of the following is an example of a brute force attack on a data center? Hacking into a server using password cracking tools, physically breaking into the server room with a tool like crowbar, and sledgehammer, using a malware to infect a system, intercepting data through unsecure Wi-Fi network, and we will go for B, physically breaking into the server room with a tool like a crowbar or a sledgehammer, because they use this to bang and to beat down the door. So now the next concept that we're going to be looking at is surveillance system and monitoring. And these are just there to monitor intruders, right? The surveillance system are there to monitor intruders. So surveillance system plays a critical role in physical security by detecting and deterring intrusions or intruders. Cameras capture footage, sensor monitor movement, alarm notifying security personnel. These systems offer valuable evidence for investigation and provide real-time situation awareness. And that's the reason people put up all these system up, right? These surveillance system up. They are there as a deterrence, and not only as a deterrence to um, not only as a deterrence, but also for the purpose of investigation. So bypassing security system, evading detection, people can do a lot of things to bypass the surveillance, to bypass the surveillance camera. So somebody come and they see a camera at the front, but they may friendly go to the back of your house if they are familiar with you, or sometimes, like I said, they come to the building and they're scouting out the building and they ask to use the bathroom, and they're trying to figure out what is around there, what is around that side. They are trying to see where the surveillance camera, where the security cameras are, and how they can bypass it. So how can they evade that? How can they bypass the security of your front door? Sometimes they may use the back because the back don't have any security camera. Sometimes they may use a side, come through a neighbor's door fence, right? Because the neighbor's house don't have a camera, so they use it. Okay, so let's look at some blind spot. Identify area where camera have limited visibility. And this is real, guys. Blind spot, where they will come and they would look at areas that don't have any security or limited visibility, and they will use that area to bypass surveillance. Jamming, interfering with camera signal using electronic device, and sometimes they can do that just to bypass security. Disguise, conceal identity by altering appearance and using object to block the camera. So sometimes some people will use different things to block the camera. They can put on hoods, they can put on masks and cover their faces. All of this is an attempt to disguise who they are. So even if you get the camera, you wouldn't be able to identify who the person is. Sometimes you have men dressed up like women, they put on the woman stuff, so you actually think it's a woman. They are just altering their appearance, and it goes vice versa, right? They're just trying to hide who they are. And then you have physical obstruction, which is another way in which you can evade surveillance camera. You're trying to go around the camera, or, so no one will identify you. You have the way of blocking the camera using objects like spray paint and mirrors or lasers. So sometimes when intruders badly want to get into your server center, your data center, they will spray stuff on the camera. They will block the camera because they want to get into the building. So anything that will prevent it. So usually when they're blocking the camera, they usually mask their face because they cannot go in the camera like that. So they try to put stuff over their face so you wouldn't see who is doing it. Surveillance system in physical security refers to the use of technology to monitor, to record, and to analyze activity in and around a location to prevent or to deter unauthorized access, criminal activities, or other security breaches. So we put up these cameras basically to monitor, okay, and to make record of any activity that is going on in and around the building, and it is there to prevent and to deter unauthorized access and criminal activities, right? And for security breach. These systems are integral part of the physical security strategy, and they provide continuous observation, and they provide alerting security personnel to potential threats in real time after an incident occurs. Because in real time, because the surveillance cameras, they are active, and you are seeing the live footage of the intruders and those that are trying to come into the data center. So surveillance system, they are very important component of the physical security. So when one doesn't work, the camera works, so we see who it is, we can see the license plate number, we can have a look at the individual, see what point they came from, what time they came in, how they came in, right? So surveillance system typically include the CCTV rather, the closed circuit television camera, and we see that a lot in building. Camera placed at strategic locations that provide live video feed to security personnel and are recorded for later review. The CCTV is one of the most common form of surveillance, and we see that all the times on building. The CCTV, we see that all the time. They are placed in strategic location that will provide video feeds to security personnel or for recording for later review. So it's not only used for intruders, but it used in case of incident or any form of accident. Then sometimes the court send for it. Sometimes the company can go back and they can look at it because it picks up what is happening. And then you have camera IP cameras. These are digital cameras that transmit video data over the internet or an internal network, right? And they can be monitored remotely, providing greater flexibility. So you have some IP cameras. And then you have motion detectors, right? Sensors that detect physical movement within their range. We have those on our home. Sometimes when somebody passes, the motion detector picks it up and it sends it to your phone immediately, and it says it has detected animals, has detected a human being, and it triggers the camera or the alarm when movement is detected in sensitive area. So remember, surveillance use all of these high-tech camera system so as to prevent intruders from coming in. And we must always have, I know that people use dummy cameras and all of that, but sometimes it's not for your good, because if the intruder intend in coming in, if the intruder bent on getting into that data center, those dummy cameras will not help you. There are means and ways that you can use to set up cameras if you don't have the monthly fee to pay for the camera system. There are many ways that you can set it up using your phone, using other devices that you have, right? You can set up the camera system. So motion detectors, sensors that detect physical movement within their range, they trigger cameras or alert when movement is detected in sensitive area, right? Access control systems, these are things that we are putting in place. So sensor camera that detects physical movement within their range, and they will trigger camera or alert when movement is detected in sensitive areas. And then we have access control system. These are systems including cameras and other monitoring tools to ensure only unauthorized individual can enter specific areas. Surveillance may be integrated with a card reader or a biometric system for verification. Monitor detectors, sensors that detect physical movement within their range and trigger camera and alert when movement is detected. So all of this, sensor camera, motion camera, access control system, all of these aid in securing the environment. So let's look at some scenarios right here. A data center surveillance scenario. A corporate a corporate data center that hosts sensitive client data and information and critical infrastructure is under 24/7 surveillance. To enhance security, a combination of a CCTV camera, motion detectors, and access control system are implemented because this has all your sensitive data. Incident: a suspicious individual attempt to gain access to restricted area of the data center after hours. Bypassing standard access control mechanism, the surveillance system detects the unusual movement and immediately trigger an alert to the security team. Response: the security team quickly review the live video footage from the CCTV camera and notice unauthorized person trying to access a server room. They immediately notify local law enforcement while simultaneously locking down the access point and initiating a lockdown protocol. This individual is apprehended before gaining access to critical systems because they have all the security in place that was able to be so effective in locking down the system before the intruders got in, because they are bent on getting into the data center. So what these people did, they were very smart enough to have the CCTV camera and motion detector that has an alarm system on it. Are there any questions? Is there anything that you don't understand that you need further explanation on? So let's look at another scenario, and this one is at an airport perimeter. Scenario: an international airport has deployed a robust surveillance system along its perimeter, which include high resolution camera, infrared sensor, and monitor detector to monitor both land and airside, right? Surveillance camera are also integrated with facial recognition technology for identification of personnel. Incident: late at night, an alarm is triggered by a motion detector along the airport perimeter fence. The surveillance camera automatically zoom in on the area, capturing a high definition image of individual near the fence. Response: security staff observe the footage in real time and identify the individual as a potential threat. The person is seen trying to cut through the perimeter fence, and the security team send a raid response unit to intercept the intruder. Airport security is tightened and the individual is detained for questioning, because all of these um, high-tech cameras and surveillance system is there to make sure that no one gets in to their system, right? No one's breaking. Let's look at one with a retail store. A large retail store uses a network of CCTV camera throughout the building, including in the aisles, entrance, and storage area. Motion sensors are installed at the front and the back of the store to detect unauthorized movement after business hours. The incident that happened here: the store received an alert from a motion sensor at the rear entrance indicating that someone has broken in after closing time. The surveillance system automatically start recording footage from camera near the back door. Response: the store manager remotely accessed the camera feed and observed two individuals attempting to steal inventory. The alarm the alarm triggers and a local law enforcement is contacted. Security personnel review the footage to identify the suspect, and the criminal was caught before they could escape with stolen merchandise, right? So this is again a scenario of using surveillance system and motion detectors and camera to detect anyone that's coming to your facility. And all of these, guys, is very important when you are planning the security of your data center. Not only physical, but there are other types of security that we're going to talk about, right? Let's look at another scenario with an office building. And sometimes too, in with these security measures that you put in place, you have to have a security personnel that is constantly monitoring these things remotely. It's not a situation where you can keep your, if it is attached to your phone, that you can keep your phone off at all time, and you have to set that security feature on your phone to give you immediate notification or alarm, right? So you cannot silence it, you cannot, turn your phone off or whatever you're using to monitor. So maybe you need to get a special phone because you're going to need immediate notification should there be a situation of breach or a situation of somebody trying to get in, right? So a multi-tenant office building has an expensive surveillance system with CCTV camera placed at key locations such as building entrance, elevator, stairway, stairwalks, and parking lots. The system integrate with the building access control system so that only authorized individual can access restricted floor or room. Incident: after an office hour, an employee accidentally leaves a confidential report in the building parking garage. The monitoring the next morning, another employee find the documents while walking through the garage, and after reading the content, tries to enter a security area using the fake access card. Respond: the building surveillance system detects the unauthorized access attempt and triggers an alert. The security team is able to remotely access the camera footage, observe the individual action, and prevent further access to the building sensitive area. The individual is reported to HR and investigation for potential security breach, right? So um, the surveillance camera was picking up the parking area. It was picking up every area, and they actually saw when the person pick up that piece of paper that was left in the area, right? And so sometimes we have surveillance camera picking up everything, and that's why sometimes investigators, sometimes the neighbor's place may be breach, and they come and they ask for your security camera, or so on and so forth. But they are all there as a deterrence and a preventative measures to intruders. So let's look at some multiple choice that will help to reinforce our learning. Which of the following is a primary function of the CCTV camera in a physical security system? Which of the following is a primary function of the CCTV camera in a physical security system? Is it A, to provide access control to restricted area? Is it B, to monitor, record, and analyze activity for security purposes? Is it C? That was supposed to be B. C. So now we're moving on to C, to detect, monitoring, and trigger alert, to automatically disable entry door during unauthorized access. And the answer would be B, to monitor, record, and analyze activity for security purpose. What types of camera technology allow remote monitoring and control through network or internet connecting? What type of camera technology allows remote monitoring and control through a network or internet connection? Is it A, analog CCTV camera, B, terminal camera, C, IP address camera, or D, bullet camera. So it will be C. It will be an internet protocol camera. These are camera that are very high tech. So let's move on to our next question. What is the main benefit of integrating facial recognition technology with surveillance camera in a secure environment? What is the main benefit of integrating facial recognition technology with surveillance camera in a secure environment? Is it A, to automatically capture license plate of a vehicle entering the premise? B, to identify and verify individual attempting to access restricted area? C, to monitor employees' performance throughout the work day? D, to detect suspicious object in the environment. And we will go with B, to identify and verify individual attempting to access restricted area. So that's the reason we put facial recognition in technology. Next question, which of the following best describe the role of motion detectors in physical security surveillance? Which of the following best described the role of motion detectors in physical security surveillance system? Is it A, they capture high definition video footage of suspicious activities? B, they detect physical movement and trigger alarms or activate cameras? C, they monitor air quality in the building to prevent health hazard? Is it D, they verify the identity of individual entering the building? And so we will say the role of motion detector in physical security is to detect physical movement and trigger alarm or activate camera, right? So they trigger alarm. So that's what we want to remember, that they trigger the alarm, right? So let's move on to the next questions. Data center, which surveillance system is most effective for detecting unauthorized access to sensitive area after hours? It would be, which of them is more effective? Which one of them would you use to be more effective? Is it A, motion detector combined with CCTV camera? B, biometric access control only? C, light sensor in server room? D, manual security guard stationed at entry point? And we said because it is to detecting unauthorized to sensitive data after hours, we would use motion detectors combined with CCTV cameras, right? Because these are after hours and they give you live update of what is happening. And so that's why we would use it after hours, because it triggers, it alerts, and then you can always call you law enforcement to get there before you can. Which of the following surveillance system would be most effective for monitoring large area with limited visibility at night? So which of the following surveillance systems would be most effective for monitoring large area with limited visibility at night? So large area with limited visibility at night. Is it infrared or night vision camera? Is it smoke detectors, facial recognition system, access control system? And we would use the infrared or high vision camera because it's able to pick up well at night. And so that's the reason we would use that area. So we have been running for over, let me see how long we've been running for, and I'm going to give you a break for 44 minutes. So I'm going to give you a break and I'm going to come back and pick up where we left off, and then not when we get back, rather, we're going to be going through a few questions that will help us to reinforce. We're going to go through the other area, but we're going to have questions and all of that when we get back to wrap up. So in the next session, we're going to be wrapping this up, and that would be it when we get back for physical security. Okay, so thank you.